Oh boy. Hello everyone. Uh, don't know really how to start this one right here, but you know, I'm getting into early this morning. Got a few hours sleep and got up and just was sitting here and got to Jonah chapter 3. Jonah chapter 1, verse 3. I'm gonna go to that right quick so it'll give you a little feel of how I might have got here, because I'm still trying to register everything in the right way. But when I got here to Jonah chapter 3, I'm going to read from verse 1 to 3. It says, "Now the word of the Lord came unto Jonah, the son of Amittai, saying, Arise, go to Nineveh, that great city, and cry against it, for their wickedness is come up before me." But Jonah rose up to flee unto Tarshish from the presence. When I got the presence, I began to read it a little bit slower. The presence of the Lord, and went down to Joppa, and he found a ship going to Tarshish. So he paid the fare thereof and went down into it to go with them unto Tarshish from the presence of the Lord. So it began to speak to me again. I did a video on this a while back where I was trying to show that the word presence has 8 letters in it. And we know that 8 represents the beginning. So, I was looking at that, and then I was looking at in verse 3 when it first started out, saying that it's 11 words till you get to where presence is mentioned the first time. And then when you get to where presence is mentioned the second time, is the 47th word. So we know that if you pay attention to that 11 means disorder. And, God is sending Jonah to Nineveh because of the disorder and stuff that was there, and talking about judgment. We know that 11 means disorder. It means judgment. It means mystery and mastery, as I've said many times before. But what you have here is you have presence being mentioned twice in the third verse. So me knowing that we are in the last 3 of the 333 is speaking a little bit louder to me. Now, like I said, it's the 11th word when you start off in verse 3. If you count, you'll get the 11th word the first time presence is missing. And remember that it's 8 letters in present. So the second time that presence is mentioned in the 47th word. Now, if you go to the middle number of 47, you get 4 plus 7, you get 11. So you get 11 twice. And that speaks to me, about 11:11, Deuteronomy 11:11, where God talks about that he's going to take the seed of Abraham and Isaac into the promised land, a land flowing with milk and honey. So, but you can't take them there because of the evil and wickedness that they're doing, like Nineveh. If you go back into when they was in the wilderness, they had to die out. So all this is speaking to me all at once because of what's coming to me. So I might be getting a little ahead of myself. So let me slow down here a little bit. Now, the 11:11 speaks to me. And here in the third verse, we got where God is sending Jonah to Nineveh, but Jonah is taking and running. Now we get 11 mentioned the first time about presence. So presence get to talking to me because I want God's presence. So when I pray, I usually pray with a blue face rag that I got specifically for that, because I know the blue, to me, it represents the glory of God. When you look up and see a sky on a beautiful day, it's blue, and we know that that's one of the colors that's mentioned when you go into the sanctuary. You got blue, red, purple, gold, and I believe it's white mixed up in there. It's in Exodus chapter 25 that is mentioned about that. But anyway, going to get back to the present part, because I want to get off here. I don't want to make this real long. What I'm trying to explain to y'all is that we are being a reflection of Nineveh. And God is trying to warn us, because we don't have his presence in the church. We have the presence of another spirit that's there. And when I was thinking about God's presence, because his presence was being mentioned here twice, and knowing that God wanted to lead us to a fruitful place, not just physically, but spiritually, that began to speak to me. And this would have happened. This would have happened. When this happened, I end up kind of drifting a little bit, and this is what happened. 3:23:26, 5:04 p.m. About 10 minutes ago, I could hear a voice crying out for the Baptist church to return to its first love. As this was happening, I could feel the wind blowing in the spirit realm, and I could feel the pain of love in the distance. In the distance. It must just be my emotions. And I say this because I asked Father Yahweh, is this him? And I got no answer. But this felt so real, y'all. I mean, as I was, it was like I was in another place, and I was able to hear the voice. And then I was able to feel the wind blowing. And as I said, and I thought, because I was, I got caught up in the word presence. I hope y'all starting to get how one thing led to another. Because I was, got stuck on the word presence, then, got to thinking about how I wanted God's presence, and got to thinking about, the number 8, that's big, that being the beginning. When you get God's presence, that's the beginning. Then the number 11, okay, this in here is speaking about sending Jonah to Nineveh, and thinking about how God keep on giving us warning after warning after warning after warning after warning by different men and women of God, by events that's happening and all that. And I'm sitting up here saying to myself, for me to just drift off like that after I get to that, then this to come to me about the Baptist church, and knowing that God's been warning me about the Baptist church going all the way back to 2015, when Bishop Paul S. Morton stepped down, and Bishop Walker stepped up into his place. And then in the last few years, it's been coming to me more and more about the Baptist church. So today I go to pray after all this happened, and it came to me after I got through praying, it came to me. The big harvest is here, but the church is not ready for it. The blind leading the blind. And then I got led to this right here. Isaiah 57, verse 10 on down. Okay? It got right here. Matter of fact, let me turn it around so y'all can see it. Okay, it got right here. Isaiah 56. We're in chapter 56. Chapter 56, verse 10. It got right here. His watchmen are blind. They are ignorant. They are all dumb dogs. They cannot bark, sleeping, lying down, loving slumber. Ye, they are greedy dogs which can never have enough, and they are shepherds that cannot understand. They all look to their own way, every one for his gain. From his quarters, come ye, say they, I will fetch wine, and we will fill ourselves with strong drink. And tomorrow shall be as this day, and much more abundant. Now pay attention to what it's saying in here. He said, and tomorrow shall be as this day, and much more abundant. Now, if we paying attention to what's really going on in the church, we having a repeating of the same thing. Men and women crying out to sow a seed and God do this. Having all these big gatherings, which that's good. But if you're coming out the same way you went in, then it's not good. And that leads me back to, like I say, it's a spirit in the church that's not of God. Spirit don't have nothing to do with God. I was in Bishop J. Drew Shear's church yesterday, and they heard of me that I couldn't praise with them. I wanted to praise so bad with them. The people was in the prayer, and I looked around, young man that had on a green suit, and he was just praising, and looked around, seen a couple more young people praising the Lord, some of the older people too. And, people was up dancing, but I noticed that they really didn't get up and get into it until Bishop Shears grabbed the mic. And when he grabbed the mic, it's like they responded. And the thing that what they coming to me is, we worshiping man or is we worshiping God? It's basically like, why does this happen when he said it? I can understand heeding to the shepherd's voice. I can understand that part. But it began to kind of speak to me that we are more prone to give God worship when the man or woman of God is telling us, we won't get up and do it on our own. So I'm sitting up there and I'm thinking to myself, how many people was going to take and give God that praise when they lead that? How many people were going to do it during the week? And it go for me too, because I done fell off a lot, man. It used to be a time when Lord didn't know I was giving praise, anywhere from an hour to 3 hours a day. I ain't saying you got to do that, but I would do that every day. That's how much I failed. I'd be lucky to praise the Lord once a week. And I'm being honest. I'm talking about really praise. I go off to singing the song during the day. You know what I mean? So, but I'm talking about really, really giving it to him. I know that's what God wants, because Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 2 keeps speaking to me. When I go into church, I'm being told to read what I read. And it spoke to me again Sunday when I was there. Jeremiah chapter 7, verse 2. And we get there. Look what I'm gonna read verse 1 and 2. Jeremiah chapter 7. Look what it says. Verse 1 and 2. And the word of the Lord came. I'm gonna read down to verse 4. And the word of the Lord came to Jeremiah. And the word that came to Jeremiah from the Lord, saying, stand in the gates of the Lord's house, proclaim there this word, and say, hear the word of the Lord, all ye of Judah. Now we know Judah is praise, and it's mentioned Judah specifically. Now watch this. All ye of Judah that enter in these gates to worship the Lord. Now pay attention to this. Thus said the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, amend your ways and your doings, and I will cause you to dwell in this place. Trust you not in lying words, saying the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord are these. Now hear what verse 4 is saying. Trust you not in lying words, saying the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord are these. Now that's basically, if you read it and you ask God to talk to you about it, that's basically someone saying that, the presence of the Lord is here. you know, in my temple and in his place. But the Lord is saying, trust not in lying words. He's also letting you know not to trust in the spirit that's present, even in, it's not saying even in you, but after reading this over and over and over and over, it's basically saying to me, just to me, check that spirit that's in you. Pay attention to this that's going on in this place where you at, even in your own house. Am I there? Is my presence there, or is that something else? I hope y'all get this. Is my presence there, or is this something else? Hold on 1 minute. No. Am I there? Am I there, or is this something else that's there? Because it's specific in there when it's saying, trust ye and not in lying words, saying the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord, the temple of the Lord are these. Saying not to trust in there, saying that this is the Lord's temple. That's basically what that's saying. So here it is. The question is, because it's mentioned in the Bible, and I should have looked this up before I got there. I didn't know I was going to take and go here with this, but I'm just trying to go with what's coming to me. It's a part in the Bible where there's a woman that's coming up to Jesus, and we at the way I should know this. And Jesus let the woman know that she don't know who she really is, that she's worshiping. And that got to talking to me again yesterday too. You know, do we really know who we worship? Is we really worshiping the Lord? So my mind just going back to all these different things. I believe that's in, oh my God, should be in John chapter 4, if I'm not mistaken. Should be in John chapter 4. Yeah, because I messed things up. And that lets me know too that I ain't where I used to be at in the Lord, because I would, stuff like this I would remember right off the back. Okay, hold on 1 minute. Okay. John chapter 4, and the woman said unto him, Sir, perceive that thou art a prophet, and thou hast wrapped in the mouth. Okay, back up, and go and call the husband. Okay, shit right here. Okay, Jesus said unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour comes and you worship. Ye worship, ye know not. Okay, that's where it is right here. Okay, so I'm gonna start at verse 41, and I'm gonna come on down because but whether shall we give to him to water the spring everlasting. Okay, I'm gonna start right here in verse 14. I'm starting verse 14. But whosoever drinketh the water that I should give him shall never thirst, but the water that I shall give him shall be in him as a well of water springing up into everlasting life. And then goes on to say, the woman said unto him, Sir, give me this water, that I thirst not, neither come hither to draw. Is we drinking from the true well? Is a question that I'm also asking. Is the well flowing from out of us? Okay. Jesus said unto her, Go, call thy husband and come hither. The woman answered and said, I have no husband. Jesus said unto her, Thou hast well said, I have no husband. For thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou now hast is not thy husband. And that said thou truly. Now here it is, Jesus operating from out of not just knowledge, but a prophetic, true prophetic voice that's speaking, you know, because he's Holy Ghost filled, so he's not operating out of the spirit of divination, and he's letting them know, you know, I know these things about you. And this goes back to Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 9 and 10, but God, you know, talking about he know how wicked and deceitful the heart is, and knows all the things, you know, about us. Okay, that goes back to that. But anyway, let's go and read in verse 19. The woman said unto him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet. Now, he calling Jesus a prophet, you know, and Jesus all that and more. Okay, 20, now watch you say, our fathers worshipped in this mountain, and ye say that in Jerusalem is the place where men ought to worship. Now watch this. Jesus said unto her, Woman, believe me, the hour cometh when ye shall neither in this mountain, nor yet at Jerusalem, worship the Father. Now, worship the Father. Now, he's talking about the Father in heaven. Ye worship, ye know not what. We know what we worship, for salvation is of the Jews. But the hour cometh, and no is when the true worshiper shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship him. Now, this touches up on many things. You know, about worshiping the Lord in spirit and in truth, you know, by opening up, giving him his heart so he can guide you into spirit and truth. And then this goes back up to this part right here that I was bringing up, okay? Ye worship ye not what ye know, what we worship, okay? Ye worship not what we, okay? Ye worship now, okay, ye worship no, not what. Ye worship no, not what. Okay, let me slow up. Okay, no, not what. We know what we worship. Okay, see, and that brings me, that's what I was talking about. Do we know what we really worship and when we worship? Because it goes on to say, for salvation is of the Jews. Okay, now we know that he came to save them first, but we know he was grafted in. Because he said, but the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshiper shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth. For the Father seeketh such to worship him. Now, if you pay attention, you know, he mentioned Jews earlier, but he said the hour should come when the true worshippers should worship the Father in spirit and truth. How can you worship the Father in spirit and truth? The only way you can worship the Father in spirit and truth is to open up your heart and let him guide you into spirit and truth. So that leads me back to what I was saying about, you know, do we know who it is that we worship? If we know who it is that we worship, then we know that we got to do it in spirit and truth. And the only way that we can do that is by taking and opening up our hearts to him. Giving him the reins of a heart. We're not giving him the reins of a heart. There's no way that we'd be able to achieve that entry. You can't enter in without repentance and opening up your heart. You can't. Anybody else telling you that's a lie. So if you're going to the Father with the BS, it's not happening. If you're going to him with that fake worship, the devil will receive that. He like lying and deception. The devil is often to that. The devil will receive that lying and deception, that false worship at any time. I'm not saying that that's what was going on yesterday. Not saying that. But what I am saying is, why did they only react? Most of them only react after. You know, people's up doing it before, but people really started getting off into it after the bishop got us. I'm not playing here. You know, because I admire Bishop Shears and Ken Shears and And his daughter, Kiera, I don't know how many times I've listened to his wife and his daughter, and they have brought me from up out of a place where I was just stuck like Chuck in a bad situation. But I can feel the fakeism in some people that was up there worshiping yesterday. I'm just going to be straight up about it, man. And they got some people there in that church that can sing, that can bring the roof down on your head, literally. Anointed for it. But are we taking and truly opening up to our hearts to God and not man? I made a big mistake because, you know, it was times when I would count on going to his church. And you should be able to go to church and get a word from the man of God. But I got to the point where I got so dependent on hearing a word from him or somebody. When I go to his church, hearing a word from them, or going to Hartford and hearing a word from Pastor Adams, or going to Zion Hope and hearing a word, that I stopped doing the thing that Ezekiel did. Ezekiel had a relationship with God. And I believe that's why God had me reading Ezekiel chapter 8 for over a decade. To get that through my thick head. I want a relationship with you. And he's saying that to all of us. He want to be able to come to our house so we can do the things that we go to church to do in our house. So when we get to church, it can be magnified even more, because the more of us together that's doing it in our house and bringing it to there, the more his glory and his power going to move. But a lot of people only putting on the how can I say, a show. You judging, I'm not judging. I'm from the streets. I'm from the world. And I'm not saying that everybody was there doing it, because you can feel that people was trying to, get that. But it got to be in your heart. You got to bring something with you when you come to church too, because you want to leave with more. So bring something there when you're coming. And the only way you can bring something there when you're coming is you got to have some of that word in you. And if you knew and you don't got none in there, you know what I mean, you should leave with a word to where you want to go home and you want to read it. Man, we got to, I'm telling you, we're in the year of 69. You know, I say we ain't paying attention. First American Pope France. First American Pope ever. 69 years old when he got elected. I was hollering about the year of 69 way before that, y'all. Y'all know it. It's people that watch me and follow, y'all know it. Got so many men and women of God that's cursing me and doing stuff that I'm telling you, man, I've been hearing ever since I went to Bishop Edgar Van Church, naming and fighting with the Python spirit. You know, I have been fighting with it before, but it's like it increased and intensified since I went to Bishop Edgar Van Church and Zion Hope, my old church. Like it's intensified. I've been fighting and praying everything. And I ain't gonna lie, man, during the end of this prayer right here, I cried like a baby. It's sad, man. I know evil. Right now, the spirit of Ivan is present. And that spirit is in the church in such a powerful way. It's an old Egyptian priest, a fallen priest. And it's operating in the body of Christ in such a powerful way, man. It's crazy, y'all. Anyway, I done been on here long enough. The harvest is big. It's great right now. But church ain't ready for it, because church doing the same thing. A lot of people finna get mad about what I'm finna say right here, but it's okay. One of the things I have always admired about the Mormons and the Jehovah's Witnesses, they come out of their churches into the community. I've always admired that about them. Always, But we just want to sit up in church and for the people to come to us. If you pay attention to a lot of these scriptures and stuff here, Jesus went and visited different places and drew the people to him up on the mountain, but he also went out there where they was. Trying to come up out of them churches. Go out there to where the people at. It's enough of these mega churches here to start throwing things, something on the east side, something on the west side, something on southwest Detroit. Start bringing the people out there, having these big gardens and truly, truly being in these parks and just letting heaven come down. Inviting the people out, feeding them, communicating with them. I'm gone, y'all. I don't, I really believe that was an angel of the Lord's voice ministered to me, because it took me back to something that happened to me when I was in the penitentiary. I had this dream. I never forget this dream long as I live. It was just crystal clear. I was walking through some thick grass, green grass, beautiful green grass. And it came up just a little bit higher than my knees, and I was walking through it, and a voice was coming from a tree. The tree was plush, green, tall, and I could hear a voice spoken, and a big old eagle was just flying everywhere. Golden eagle was just flying everywhere. And the voice was telling me how to tell the eagle to come and land on me so I could take and feed this eagle this seed. And as I listened to the voice communicate with me to tell me how to get the eagle to come and land on me, the golden eagle come and land on me to feed him this seed, then the dream stopped after that. And I woke up. It was clear as all outdoors. That was brought back to me, and a few other things I ain't gonna say nothing about, but, and I guess I was kind of bringing up the past before that. And, like I said, I'm just asking him, what is it? He promised to deal with the ones that was leading the flock in the wrong way. What they talking to him about Jeremiah chapter 23, verse 1 to 12. So much greed in the church. So much. Yeah, the church need money. But even when God is raising up some people to take and get the money of the wicked, we destroying the people. Look at what's been done to me. Now, I admit I've run some things on myself. I'm guilty. And I'm running from what I run some things up on myself. But I also tried to get help from people in the church. And they took and used what I didn't know against me. And they're doing it a lot. And I'm going to end with this. Y'all have let that spirit of Jezebel come up in the church in such a powerful, powerful, powerful way. Y'all ought to be ashamed of yourself. So y'all continue doing what y'all doing to me. Been trying to get my medication filled for 2 weeks now. Called the lady today, and come to find out my doctor is the head doctor at this facility, because I was asking who can I see when I go up there tomorrow. And, and he said, well, your doctor, Andrew Smith, the head doctor. I'm like, okay, I know my doctor ain't cut like that. So I'm thinking this started, I've been trying to get my stuff refilled since the 9th of this month, my medication, since the 9th of this month. That was the day after I come from Bishop Edgar Van Church. And it's been going on. So I'm not saying that he's behind it, but I know that some people are taking do stuff, thinking that they're taking and doing right by their man and woman of God. So it could be some people that's acting on their own doing this. But I know, and I don't believe it's coming from my Dr. Andrew Smith. Me and her just had a conversation about this same thing, about making it where I can take and get a 90-day supply medication I need so I don't have to be running every Monday getting that. Just talked about it in January. Just talked about it. So anyway, I'm going up to tomorrow, try to get my medication refill, you know what I mean? But this just goes to show you how bad this stuff is, you know, in the church. You know, because I have no doubt that that's what's behind it. None. You know, but that's okay. Because I got where I made the phone calls on here and everything else. So, you know, sooner or later, y'all get exposed. All right, y'all just stop and think about this. You know what I mean? You know, got to open up your heart to him. You know, he's trying to reach us, trying to tell us to get prepared. You know, want us to be prepared, want to bless us, you know, trying to lead us in the right way. But got to come up out of these places that's all about the man or woman of God. Ain't nothing wrong with loving your man or your woman of God. Because I'm telling you, ain't no way I wouldn't have followed Pastor Grant. You know, I love him. You know, I still love him, but I know that ain't for me. You know what I mean? And if we up in the places where it's all about the man or woman of God, then how can it be about God? And I'm going to end on that. No, I ain't. I got one more thing to say. I'm understanding now, and I'm finna stop posting about Islam and the Muslim unless God really, really tell me to. Because I'm starting to understand that God is going to use them as a rod if we don't listen. I'm starting to understand that now. It's going to use them as a rod if we don't listen. Pay attention to history. Have a blessed day.